directly. Recording.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to this virtual Plan Amendment community meeting. My name is Maureen Meredith. I am the Plan Amendment case manager for the City of Austin. The case we'll be discussing tonight is NPA 2021-0015.02. If you haven't done so already, please put your name and if you're with an organization in the chat box, and we'll use this as our sign-in sheet. If you could please mute your microphone if you're joining by phone, and also turn off your video if you're online. Let's see, and this meeting will be recorded and it will be uploaded to the Speak Up Austin NPA website, and that address link was in the community meeting notice you received in the mail. So how to participate today. The speech bubble in the menu bar that will be either at the bottom or top of your screen will open the chat box where you can type in questions at any time. Please limit general comments until the end of the Q&A session. After presentations, you can click on the raise hand icon to be called on to speak. As you know, this plan amendment case is in the East MLK 183 sub-area of the neighborhood planning area. Again, my name is Maureen Meredith. I am the Plan Amendment Case Manager in the Housing and Planning Department. And Mark, you're next.
Yeah, I'm Mark Walters. I'm a principal planner in the Housing and Planning Department. I'll be moderating tonight's discussions.
I'm Leah Bojo with Drenner Group. I'm here representing the applicant.
Hi, I'm Drew Raffel. I'm here with Leah Bojo as well, representing the applicant.
Thank you. So here is my contact information, and Heather Chafin is the zoning case manager. Here's her information as well. We can come back to the screen at the end of the meeting if you wanted to write it down. So the agenda tonight, I'll go over basic case information, how to participate in the process, why is there a plan amendment application, what is a future land use map, also called a FLUM. After my presentation, Leah will give her presentation, and then we'll open the floor to questions and answers. So the property address is 3101 Hibbetts Road. It's a little more than 1 acre. The case number is NPA 2021-0015.02. The project name is 3101 Hibbetts Road. The request is to change the future land use map from industry to high density single family. The associated zoning case number is C14 2021-0134. The proposed request for rezoning is SF3 NP to SF6 NP for a single family development. The property owner and applicant is George Jr. and Barbara Karachi, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. And again, the agent is Leah Bojo, and she's with Drenner Group. So guidelines for discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during this meeting. Please postpone general comments during the Q&A session. After staff and applicant presentations, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand symbol on the menu bar. Telephone participants will be able to speak during the Q&A session of the meeting. Attendees will be muted upon arrival and through staff and applicant presentations. Then the staff will open the floor to questions and answers in the chat or by attendees raising their hands to speak. Similar questions may be grouped and answered together. Please mute your microphone when you are not speaking for the sake of sound quality and clarification. If you're having connection issues, please turn off your video until called upon to ask a question. How to participate in this process. If you have questions after this meeting, they will be answered and made available by request within 5 business days and posted on the speakupaustin.org/NPA website. You can email or call me or Heather at any time with any questions or comments that you have. If you provide written comments and would like them to be added to our staff case reports, they will be added and presented to Planning Commission and City Council. If you received this community notice in the mail, that means you live within 500 feet. And when the cases are scheduled for Planning Commission and City Council, you will receive those notices in the mail, and those notices will have instructions on how to participate in those public hearings. So why is there a neighborhood plan amendment? So neighborhood plans are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. The city charter requires zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most NPAs are amendments to a plan's future land use map, also called a FLUM, and most NPAs have an associated zoning application. This map shows areas in blue that have City Council approved neighborhood plans, most of which have a future land use map. And this is what the East MLK future land use map looks like. The colors represent broad land uses. And for example, red on the map is red on the map is a commercial land use, pink office. And in this case, the existing land use on the property is purple, which is industry. The proposed zoning with the future land use change is high density single family, and that would be a goldenrod color. This chart shows how the typical zoning districts relate to the land uses on the future land use map. For example, the SF6 is consistent with the high density single family land use. And even though the property is currently zoned SF2 and the land use is purple, typically the land use on the future land use map for SF2 would be a yellow. So this is an aerial photo of the property. You can see it's just north of Regine, and it's on the east side of Ed Bluestein. This is a Google map that just shows some of the surrounding uses. This is just a Google Maps screen capture of the property, viewing from the service road of 183. And this is just a view from Regine. This shows the property on the future land use map being purple. This is the zoning map showing SF2 NP. And this is the property you can see on the right and highlighted in blue, where the property sits in relation to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. You can see further to the west Springdale Station. You can see the activity corridors along Airport and Springdale. And that sort of dotted line trail is the urban trail. I'm sorry, dotted line is the urban trail. So next is Leah. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Maureen. And Drew will pull up our presentation in just a minute.
Sorry, give me just a second. It's moving my windows around when I move to presentation mode.
No problem.
Okay, how about now?
Great. So like Maureen said, we're here representing 3101 Hibbetts Road, which is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Karachi. Next slide, please. So here again, sorry for some of the repetition. This is the site that we're talking about here. Please go on to the next slide. Here's a little bit more zoomed in picture of it. You can see what's nearby today. Two-family residential to the north, some undeveloped sites nearby, and some single-family to the south. Next slide, please, Drew. Here's the same map I know we just looked at with Maureen, just to give you kind of to orient everybody as far as where in the neighborhood planning area the site is. Go on, please. And so as we just described, the blue is the site that I'm here representing today, and that is the one that we're asking to change from. The future land use map would be changing from industry to high density residential to match with the SF6 zoning that we're also requesting. What I wanted to show on this slide, which I think some of y'all are aware of, maybe all of y'all are aware of, is that I'm also working on a separate case, but a case nearby that's outlined in yellow there, where we're also requesting a change to the future land use map. This is one that we submitted a while back and is quite a bit further along in the process. But that request is from industry to major planned development. So I just wanted y'all to be aware of that other request as well when you look at this one that we're here to talk about tonight. Next slide, please, Drew. So this is the zoning map. It's kind of funny. It doesn't, like you just saw, the future land use map has this whole area as industrial, but if you look at the zoning, you can see that it's not, the future land use map today is not consistent with the zoning. So for example, Mr. Karachi's property has industry on the map, on the future land use map, but it's zoned SF2. So this change will make the map consistent with the zoning that we're requesting. As will the yellow, sorry, one more thing about that, Drew. So as is the yellow area, that the other case that I was just mentioning, which again, it all is industry, but it's the zoning is sort of SF2 and LI, and so that will also, we can make the whole area zoning consistent with the future land use map. Next slide, please, thanks. So here's just a summary. It's pretty straightforward. This is kind of what I described before, but we're asking to go from SF2 to SF6 and to go from industry to high density single family. Next slide, please. And this is just over 1 acre. The access is off of Hibbetts Road there. And the intent of the redevelopment, the owner is planning to continue to use his property for the time being as a single family home, while he's deciding what kind of redevelopment he might be looking at in the future. So this is not a case where there's an imminent redevelopment happening. This is something that, in talking with Mr. Karachi about the other case that we've been working on for a little while now, he is looking out into the future as part of this rezoning and this future land use map request. Next slide, please. So, we always try to tie to a neighborhood plan goal, and I think the most appropriate one here is that this change would provide a transition and sort of make that future land use map and zoning map a little more consistent. And it would provide the SF6, the high density residential, between the major plan development and the SF2 to the north. Next slide, please. And so with that, we're hoping to have the support of the neighborhood contact team and the people who live nearby. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we have a question from Angela Garza. Would you unmute and ask your question, please, Angela?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Leah, and thank everybody for putting this together. This is Angela Garza. I'm the co-chair for the East MLK Combined Contact with 4 other amazing ladies in the area, and we are doing quite a bit of work with Leah in the area, which is awesome. So my question, Leah, do you have a rendering of what you envision happening here yet?
No, we don't have anything like that. This is really a longer term
okay.
play. Yes.
Okay, and just to be fair, we haven't had a discussion with the entire contact team. And
Sure.
but Leah does plan to meet with us, and we're always in communication with Leah to let y'all know that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Are there any other questions out there? So we have several people who called in. Oh yeah, Melvin, you have a question? Unmute and ask your question, please.
Well, actually, this is Texana Davis. Melvin is my husband.
Oh, okay.
So if I heard,
go ahead. No,
I had a question for Ms. Bojo. So you're not really planning to build anything anytime soon, since you don't have any renderings yet?
No, Mr. Karachi does not have renderings or a timeline for the redevelopment of the site.
And none of the other sites are ready for any building anytime soon?
The other sites in the other zoning case?
Yes.
So those are moving. Those are moving ahead. I mean, those we do have plans, more specific plans for the LIPDA site. I think you're talking about. We do have more specific plans for that, which I'm happy to share with you. I mean, I know this meeting is about Hibbetts, but I'm happy to talk to you about that other site if you'd like as well.
Okay. Yeah, I am interested in that since I'm in the neighborhood.
Sure, of course.
Okay. Did you want to do that right now, or, okay, Angela, do you have a question? Unmute and ask your question. You need to unmute.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to run
That's
two
fine.
meetings at one time. I
I
apologize.
know.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Miss Texana Davis. Is she still there, Miss Davis?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, ma'am.
She's,
It sounds like you have an interest in understanding what's going on in developments. We do invite you, if you like, to be involved with our contact team, where we do have extensive conversations about these, which is awesome. And again, Leah does do a really great job in informing us. In fact, we have a meeting with her and a site visit tomorrow morning. But we do invite you to be part of our meetings as well. Is that something?
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and I can send the information to, if you want to send me your email address, we'll get you connected with us as well.
Okay, and this is Miss Garza speaking?
Yes, ma'am. It's Angela
Okay.
Benavides Garza, but we have 5 incredible co-chair ladies, a diverse group of women, Black, Brown, Anglo, all of us together, coming together, and we really do have really great meetings with Leah, and together we work. We're just incredible women and come together to work on these projects as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
anyone will lower their hand. Does anybody else have any questions for Leah or Maureen? I see there's some folks here with telephone numbers, and I'm going to go down and I'm just going to say the last 4 digits and ask you if you have a question. So if not, just stay silent, and then we'll assume that you don't have a question. So the phone number ending in 9171. Do you have a question?
I have a question.
And this is.
I have a question for Leah.
Okay, and this is 27.
Yes, this is 512-926-2717.
Okay.
I'm Diana Dean. I'm a co-chair with the MLK contact team.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Dean.
Okay, I did a site visit today, and normally when I come out, I'm a long East Austin resident, and when I normally come out of the hog pen, years ago you could just drive straight across. So I had to make sure that I had to go to the right, and the traffic is horrendous. And I just want to make sure that the residents that live in this development, or who will live in this development, have a safe entry into their dwelling. It's very fast-moving traffic from the toll. I mean, are they thinking about any signage, get to the left? Is it one way in or out? I did look there. The heritage tree, are you preserving heritage trees? I do see the clearing of the area. Are we talking about any type of trail connectivity? And we think about the wildlife and displacement, but I do see forests way behind, so they could go there. And thinking about a gesture of goodwill to the neighborhood or the MLK contact team as we go forward with conversations. Is there going to be a pool? And we also want to talk about flood mitigation efforts. So I just wanted to bring those things up. But it's a beautiful site. It's untouched. It's beautiful. And we welcome whoever would want to live there, because it's great. We don't know if they are people that are not going to drive cars, or they do drive cars, or they have families. But it's so dangerous to get in there. I went in there, and it's very dangerous. So I want to make sure that the residents who live there are safe.
Sure. So what I can say, and it sounds like your questions are sort of both about this Hibbetts Road project and then also about the larger project next door. And so I guess, and they are, to be clear, they are separate. They're close by, and I'm sure they'll kind of, they'll be complementary, but they are separate projects. The larger project will have connections to the trails system to the south, and the idea is that they're really wanting to embrace those trails and make those connections work as well as possible, so that folks that want to use those trails to get into the development or folks who live, for example, in the neighborhood to the south who want to come in to use some of the commercial services and things like that would have an easy way to do that without having to necessarily get on 183 if they choose. We're also in conversations with Capital Metro right now about that is where they're going to put the green line, and it's very early, and Cap Metro doesn't know exactly where they're going to put that station, but we've been talking to them already about it because we're hoping that it's really close by and adjacent so that the folks in that bigger development can use it. And then what I would say about this Hibbetts Road piece is that the idea, and we don't have plans yet for Hibbetts Road, and it's obviously a much smaller site. But the idea is that whatever is developed on Hibbetts would also be able to connect into the development, and then therefore through it into the same connections to trains and to trails and all of that, in addition to having access off of 183. So there is very much that kind of general approach to the area as far as transportation goes. I don't know yet if there's going to be a pool on either site, the bigger one or on this one. We're just not quite at that point yet, but I'm happy to relay that back. Trying to think, I feel like there might have been a couple other questions in there that I didn't catch. Oh, just traffic in general. For this smaller site, for Hibbetts Road, because it is small and we're asking just for residential, there is not a traffic impact analysis now, but there would probably be one, or there could be one when we get to site plan, whenever that happens in the future. For the larger site, there is a traffic impact analysis, which is in review with the city right now, which would speak to, I think, some of your questions about signage and the access off the frontage road and things like that. If I missed anything else, please let me know.
Are there any other questions from people in attendance? No. Yes, Texana, you'd ask your question, unmute.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on the safety of getting out of the neighborhood. It is extremely dangerous now that they have the toll road there. Traffic was always bad, but it's worse now. And I had talked to the appraisal district about that. They told me that they would be doing an assessment at some point, but they would wait until next year to kind of, because I had complained about the traffic. It's worse now, and you can't really get out safely. So for whatever that's worth, I was just piggybacking on that they are supposed to be looking into that.
Gotcha.
Okay. So any other questions? If not, Maureen, if Drew, if you could share Maureen back, and she can go over what the next step in the process are, and if between here and when she gets done with that, if there are any other questions, we can address them at that time.
Okay. And looks like there it is. So here, again, here's my contact information, and Heather, the zoning planner's contact information. Next steps will be after this meeting, my team will meet, we'll make a recommendation on the change to the future land use map. We'll forward that to the zoning planners. They'll meet and they'll make a recommendation on the zoning change. We'll work with the planning contact team on your letter of recommendation. If you can keep me posted of after this meeting when y'all might be meeting in order to get that letter. We don't have it scheduled for Planning Commissioner City Council at this time. So we'll work with the team on when we start having prospective dates and when we would have to have that letter in order to add it to our staff case reports. And again, if you live within 500 feet, you'll get that notice in the mail.
So Angela, you have a question, if you'd unmute and unmute.
Yes, and Maureen, I think we're, thank you so much again. And these were great questions and great observations. Texana and Diana, great questions, and thank you for doing a site visit. I think that the challenge that we're running in, Maureen, because we love working with Leah, because Leah's, I mean, we have great conversations with her. The challenge that we're seeing is that when the letters are being asked for, and we don't really have a clear vision of where we're headed, like, can you kind of explain what that first letter does without us having a clear vision of where we're headed. I think that's the challenge it has nothing to do with Leah. It's like the contact team is being asked for a letter, but we don't have the renditions. We don't have the clear vision. So is that going to be another letter that we're going to have to do later once we get the clear vision, the benefits negotiated for the community, and understand exactly where we're headed at that point?
So renderings at this point are not required for either the plan amendment or the zoning case.
Okay.
It's up to the applicant. I know some situations those are very expensive at this point for applicants to pay for, so they may not always be available. So at this point, if those aren't available and aren't on the horizon to get, what we just ask planning contact teams to do is look at their plan document and assess the proposed zoning as a overall request and not so much based on renderings.
Okay.
Mark, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, please.
Well, no, I mean, at this point, like Leah said, there's simply a zoning change is really the first step in the development process. And it would appear that the property owner doesn't have any immediate plans for the property. So I think so they're just requesting the zoning change. And so they could open up their options. But the letter is also, I think it's a statutory is it a statutory requirement or is it requested in the code, Maureen?
So in the land development code, Article 16, it says may submit a letter.
Okay, may submit a letter. So there's not anyone saying you may or you should or you must. You know, if for whatever reason the contact team cannot come up with a vote or a decision, I think you won't be dinged for not submitting a letter.
But I do know that the Planning Commission and City Council, my experience has been that they do like to see something from the planning contact team, even if for some reason, and I've seen this in the past, a planning contact team submits a letter saying we have no recommendation or something, at least that they see something from the planning contact team so they'll know that they were aware of the request and had an opportunity to submit something.
May I ask another question here really quickly then? Thank you so much, because we're working on getting a meeting like with you as well in Natasha Harper Madison and Bill Renteria, so we can all get on the same page about this. And I'm not only asking because Leah, but in general, when we're dealing with developers. So like if we did a letter of recommendations, could we put on the letter of recommendation that we whether we support it, but with these caveats in place, are we able to put something like that in writing?
Sure.
Like, are we able to put something like that where we can put, as long as we got benefits for the community, the traffic situation has been addressed and we have a clear plan for that. As long, these are our concerns at the moment. But if we decide as a group to go ahead and approve that zoning change, we only want to continue to move forward with that, and we can see that all these metrics have been hit or requests have been hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you can put into your letter whatever your group feels is appropriate. It's
okay,
your
that's
letter.
what we want right there. I was wondering right there. Okay, thank y'all.
And I just want to add, if it's recommendations the planning contact team has that's like directly related to, let's say, the zoning request, and it might be something that the applicant agrees with, and it could be put in a conditional overlay, that would be good information to have, and you can work with Heather on that. If it's broad recommendations, and I'm just going to make something up, that the planning contact team says, we want the houses to be built with brick, that's not something we could put in an ordinance, but it might be something that y'all can add as just a side sort of vision in your letter. So there's things that can be put in a zoning request, things that can't. When you meet with Leah and those types of things are sorted out, you can communicate those with Heather, and that might help as far as like the zoning side move forward.
Okay, so it might be a good idea to meet with Heather to find out what the clear difference is, what we could put in that letter to make sure that we cover the community as well. benefits in the future or anything once those renderings are, we get to that point and everything like that. So it might be good to meet with her to understand what we're able to request. Because, you know, also, here's the thing. Leah's not going to be able to get millions of dollars in benefits away. So we got to be realistic about what's going on here. But for us to be effective and efficient together and move forward together, I think it's fair that we understand what we clearly could ask within that letter of support and not, just as these caveats are made, like these concerns that Ms. Texana Davis brought up and Ms. Diana brought up as well, making sure that we meet some of those requirements. We're not picky about brick or anything like that. That's not our deal. Our thing is just like the water situation that's happened, the traffic situation, making sure it's safe. Things that are just like we obviously just want to, as a team together, work on. Does that make sense?
Right. And I have a list. It's from the Land Development Code. It's what can be put in a conditional overlay, and I can send that to you. And that could be a starting point to look at that.
That'd be wonderful. That way we're not wasting Heather's time as well, because this woman is busy and we need to make sure we're using her time effectively as well when we come over and talk with her.
Okay. Good questions, good comments. Any more for this evening? If you think all the bases have been covered, we can call the meeting early and get about on with our evenings, or if there's more questions, we can do our best to respond to them.
I think it was great. Does anybody have any more questions? Diana, thank you again.
I thank everybody here that's engaged in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Texana Davis. You are more than welcome. That Diana is one of our rock stars on the team as well, and you would love talking with her as well. You are more than welcome to join us.
Thank you. I'll give you a call, and then maybe I'll get a chance to speak with Diana as well.
Okay,
yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds wonderful.
Bye, team.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Have a great night.
Yeah.
you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, thank
Bye.
you.
Well,
Thanks,
it looks
all.
like the meeting. I think that looks like the end of the meeting there. So for you who are still here, wish you all a happy evening, and we can get on with it. Maureen, anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
I can't think of anything.
Leah or Drew, anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. And if anyone participating has any questions, please contact Maureen or Heather, and they're really great resources available to you. So with that, we can end the meeting and have everyone have a good evening.
Thanks, y'all.
Maureen, I'm going to stay on a second.
Okay.
I'm going to stop the recording.